So we've got our local builders from the village in here because we've got another project. It's not going to be a very long project, but it's something that we've been wanting and which was effectively covered by the extension that we had before, and that is to get an extended roof across the driveway, across this flat bit here, so that we've got a covered area for Suntory's car when it's here, and more flexibility with the way we park things that are still protected from the sun and the rain. So I mentioned this to Suntory today. She's away in Hat Yai at the moment working, which is southern Thailand, having been in Bangkok for a week or two, and she immediately agreed it was a good idea and suggested I have a word with these lads. And so I cycled up to their house with a little plan and my Google Translate, and here we are 3 hours later. They're measuring up and deciding what materials they need, and they will start work tomorrow. Now this is very much my project, so I'm telling them how I think it should be, although I've got no experience in building these sorts of structures, so at the end of the day it might turn out slightly differently because that's how it has to be. But one thing I do know is that there's a water pipe here, and it's going to be in the way of where one of the posts is going to have to be mounted, because I don't want any posts on the driveway in the way of any vehicle that comes up. So we're going to have to move that pipe. You can just see I've exposed the blue pipe to show them. It basically goes up that way to the tap on the wall there, and then it goes, it does a dog leg around here and down there to a tap at the end of the wall near the gate. So just a very minor bit of replumbing needed there to make sure that we can continue with that. The other thing is that one of the posts is probably going to have to be put onto a new block here. So I've exposed the poo hole cover because they need to know where that is, so that they understand when they're digging the hole to lay the concrete for the post to go on, that what their limitations are effectively. Now this construction is going to be all in steel, unlike the garage which was wood, and the reason for that is because it's my project, so I know the limitations of wood and the strengths of steel, because I don't want any posts going through the middle here interfering with where we can park cars or move vehicles. So we've got something like a 6.5 metre span to create in steel to hold the roof up without any bowing. I don't think that's going to be a problem at all. I know of various constructions I've seen where that's been done, and at the end of the day the structure is only holding a roof up. It's not holding any building materials, it's not holding any flooring, any walling or anything like that, unlike the extension. So it should be fairly simple to achieve without at the end of the day me feeling like it's vulnerable to blowing down in the wind. So just to recap on the construction of the garage, this is all local wood, and it was built, it was basically built by Suntory and the lads. Although I tried to tell them the dimensions, it didn't work out that way. They did their own thing, and they did it in wood, which wouldn't have been my preferred way, but it was cheaper because the wood's actually free apart from actually making it into the shapes that we have here, the planks. So it was relatively cheap compared to steel. But once it was built, despite the fact that we were able to create spans of some 6 meters in one go from the planks, because the trees that were harvested for us were that long, or longer I should say, the problem was that they bowed in the middle, and it was very, very obvious once the roof was on that this was not a secure structure at all. Hence, after the event, steel beams were added in the middle, which is fine because it didn't impact upon how the cars are parked, because they need to be parked apart from each other anyway, so that doors can be opened. And it was just that it was an afterthought, really. It was a necessity, but it was an afterthought. And obviously I don't want that to be repeated, so it's got to be done in steel, and there is a certain way of constructing the trusses to go across this large span to make it work. Now, I'm a bit concerned because there's a piece of art there that he's holding. He doesn't realise how important that bamboo pole is. So I'm going to have to make sure that's not used in the building project. Yeah, I need to have that. That's a piece of UNESCO heritage art. That is something of national importance that I've obtained from Greg. And that has got to stay untouched during the process of building this. So I'm going to have to hide that. Yes, as an aside to the building project, I've got a little bit of a garden going on here. It's in the very early stages, of course. But this green bamboo has been rescued from a potential UNESCO World Heritage Art site up in Sika, but unfortunately the application was rejected. So Greg, in his generous wisdom, offered this to me as a second attempt, and so I'm going to create myself a little UNESCO site here, and hopefully we'll have better results when we email them twice a week.